Born of nuclear radiation and destined to walk the earth forever, welcome to Godzilla Reviewthon! What's up, YouTubers of the world? MegaGeek makes it here, ready to review to you guys the first entry in the second series of the Godzilla franchise, the Heisei era. So the year is 1984, and Toho decided after a 10-year long rest and for his 30th birthday, it was time to bring the Big G back. But not only did they bring him back, they brought him back in his original darker tone. And the 16th entry of the Godzilla franchise, The Return of Godzilla. And this film was a huge success for what they did in bringing the dark tone aspects of the film of Godzilla back, and I am so happy they did it, because while I did love the last two entries in the Showa era, I didn't like when Godzilla was being treated as a children's hero. I liked him better as the nuclear menace that he was. And no doubt that's what Toho was seeing too, especially with the decrease in box office numbers with the Showa era. And it's because of that they also decided to ignore all of the Showa era films except for the original itself. That's right, guys, this film is a direct sequel to the original Godzilla film and ignoring all other Showa eras. What happened in 1954 took place, but Godzilla didn't appear for 30 more years until in this film. After 30 years, Godzilla resurfaced again. He was first known about after he attacked a fishing boat. And that fishing boat scene, when it shows a reporter named Gamaki of a press place. Sorry, that just came out of nowhere from when I remember hearing it in the film. But either case, when he gets on that ship, it really shows the dark aspects of the film, because he finds only the ship pretty much almost filled with nothing but dead people, but they've lost their flesh. Yes, this shows that they were not holding back. They were really going to show the darker tone of the Godzilla film, and it did great. Now he found one survivor who helped save his life when Maki was being attacked by a sea lice that was mutated because it was onto Godzilla. And after rescuing the guy mentioned that he saw a monster, and after being brought to the mainland, he is shown pictures by a guy named Professor Hayashida, who was a victim of Godzilla's attack 30 years ago, and the fact that he lost his parents. He showed the survivor pictures to show that if that's the monster he saw, and indeed it was, the word got to the Prime Minister, and at first they wanted to keep it quiet, but when he attacked a Soviet nuclear submarine, they knew they had to bring it out to the press because they didn't want a nuclear war happening. And because this all takes place during Cold War tensions between the Americans and the Russians. Yes, and that is what another thing that showed that I'm glad they brought back. You see, Godzilla was a metaphor of nuclear weapons, and this film, it doesn't necessarily do that for Godzilla, but it definitely talks about the morals of using nuclear weapons, because when they learned of the fact that Godzilla was back and it was released out there into the world, there was also an international political meeting between the Russians and the Americans to ask Japan to use nuclear weapons, but the Prime Minister did a great job in showing the morals of the fact that they will not use nuclear weapons from any side of the country if Godzilla attacks their island. And he hit it home when he told the Americans and Russians, would you have it in you to use nuclear weapons if Godzilla appeared in your home capital country? Because truthfully told, that is definitely true. But what really makes this film is all about Godzilla. They brought him back looking not just bigger and stronger, but much meaner looking. And boy, was I happy to see him back to his roots. And pretty much he was just terrorizing Japan like he did in the first film. And unfortunately he didn't have a monster to face, but that was okay. It was great that they didn't, because we needed to just let this film be about him and what made him the nuclear menace menacing dark monster that he was before. And then this one, it's all about him pretty much just attacking Japan to feed off of nuclear power to keep himself around. Because this is also another part of the film that I like. It discusses the scientific facts about Godzilla and the fact that he's a product of mankind, which we all know, and the fact that he is a nuclear weapon, a living nuclear weapon. And since he feeds off nuclear energy, that's why he goes in Japan. But it also helps people in knowing how they can fight him. One of the highlights of this film was the introduction to a boss plane battle, and that is from a plane known as the Super X. Yes, Godzilla does take on the army, but it's the Super X versus Godzilla that really makes the highlight of the films. It introduced us to a new way of what Toho was going to do. Instead of always having conventional weapons going, they needed something bigger to be introduced, and that's where the boss plane came in. And speaking of Godzilla taking on the army, it was really cool seeing that scene of him not just using his atomic breath on that landscape when he was in Tokyo Bay, but it also showed another dark aspect that was in the original film, about his atomic breath making contact on some of these soldiers, and also the menacing part of him stomping on some of these civilians who were near him, that you could see his shadow over these people who were running away from him, trying to prevent getting stomped on him. And another incredible scene, especially in special effects wise, was when Godzilla destroys things. One thing he destroys, it lands on a bridge that just kills so many millions. The special effects on that one was amazing. But also, what made this film also amazing was some of the emotional tone that was used at the end. For when they defeated Godzilla and have him be trapped inside Mount Mehara, they as it is being destroyed, you can hear this song in the background that makes you just feel emotional. Sure, they're defeating Godzilla, but there's some sort of emotional connection people feel as he's falling down into the volcano. I don't know if it's in the certain knowing that he dies or if it's something else, but even still, I can feel it. And that's what made this movie so great. You see, it brought both back cold tensions and dark tensions from both human side and the monster side of things, showing like some intensities with the Cold War happenings and everything, and the moral uses of nuclear weapons, and the introduction to a boss plane battle, which would continue on into the Heisei era. But this is a highly recommended film, guys. Return of Godzilla. Although, if you guys can, I recommend you get the Japanese version, because the American version really screwed it up to where it's not as good as you would think if you see the American version. You must see the original Japanese version. And I also love that they brought Godzilla back in the darker tone and kept it with them as the series went on, but still developed his character more, which you'll learn of as I continue on with the second series of the Heisei era of Godzilla. But definitely let me know if you guys have seen this film. If you haven't, I totally recommend it. And for some of y'all who have, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of this film when it came out, or when you guys got to see it? Because I wasn't born when this came out, but I was still glad I found a way to get the Japanese version, and I recommend Japanese version, folks. That's the better one. This is definitely one of my top 10, guys. But in case, if you guys are enjoying my videos, all you gotta do is hit the subscribe button, click the bell icon to be notified of more videos. And if you're liking my videos, click that like button, share with your friends on this review of Godzilla, and I'll see you guys in the next entry of Godzilla Reviewthon! Until then, MegaGeek Mixer signing out. Bye!